Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. I'm Cynthia Chaplin, and this is Voices. Every Wednesday, I will be sharing conversations with international wine industry professionals, discussing issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion through their personal experiences working in the field of wine. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your pods. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Voices. This is Cynthia Chaplin, and today I have the great pleasure of having Susie Barrie and Peter Richards with me, who are both British and both masters of wine, and they studied together for the MW program, and they also happen to be married to each other. They're TV and radio presenters and event hosts, writers, columnists, authors, consultants, all of those good things. And they have a great wine podcast called Wine Blast. So welcome to the show, Susie and Peter. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's very exciting to be here.
Great. Well, I am extremely curious about your relationship as two masters of wine in the same household. My husband is a non-drinker, so I'm wondering what your house is like. Is it filled with wine? Is it wine all the time? Do you argue about what you're drinking, or do you generally agree? How does it work?
I think there's a big yes and a big no to those questions, actually, Cynthia.
Which order is the thing?
So yes, the house is filled with wine. To be really honest, our life is very much about wine. But the great thing about wine is it is a social as well as a working thing for us. So yes, we have a lot of wine everywhere. I think our children despair of us. And there's a lot of wine talk as well. But, we're both interested in it. So that's fine.
As for whether we disagree, we disagree about everything. So it would be strange if we then didn't disagree about wine. But no, it's a really good question. And absolutely, I think, for example, when we often match wine and food together, as we did on Saturday Kitchen for a long time, the process worked quite well. We'd line up a whole bunch of wines, we'd cook the dish, and then we'd argue, basically. And the wine which we could agree on most was the one which probably stood the best chance of appealing to as many different people out there as possible. So in a way, the arguing process does work. It's quite constructive.
Or discussion.
I love it. Discussion. That's the diplomatic way.
Yes.
Discussion.
Sorry. Can I replace the word argument with discussion in everything I just said?
Heated discussion.
Yeah. No, it's all fun and it's all good. But no, absolutely, we certainly wouldn't want any of your listeners to think that we agree on wine. No, absolutely not. No. I don't think no two people should. But frankly, Cynthia, what we are also interested to learn is if your husband is a proud Brit but also a non-drinker, how does it work in your household? How do you get through the bottles?
Getting through the bottles is not the problem. The problem is that there's no one to hide behind. I am shamed all the time by my children who see the amount of wine that is in the house and consumed in the house, and I can't hide because they know.
You can't blame anybody else.
Yes.
That's right. So basically, I indoctrinated all of my children. So they come home specifically because they know they can drink wine for free at Mum's house.
No. Great angle. You just need to find the way through it, don't you? But you're absolutely right. I always blame Susie. If the kids say anything, I just blame Susie. And I think vice versa. It does work quite well.
Well, I have managed to drag my husband into vineyards. He's a photographer, so he comes with me and has kind of managed to soak up quite a lot of wine knowledge, even though he's still, one of those people who I say, oh, just smell this fantastic Brunello. And he will say, oh, it smells like wine. But it's a little sad for me when I have a good bottle around. So I do envy your household with the daily ability to talk about wine in a more meaningful way than I get to do. That's why I love my job. I love coming to the office. So now I understand that it was Susie's decision first to go for the Master of Wine, and Peter got pressured into it. Is that true?
It's so not true. I think Peter told you that, Cynthia.
This
Definitely.
is absolutely true. This podcast is my cry for help. Anyone out there? Susie pressurizes me. No, it was your
It was
call.
Me, though. The truth is, it was me who wanted to do it first. Definitely. Peter tried desperately to put me off. I think he knew from everything he'd heard how tough it was going to be on everybody, including, the whole of our household. So he tried to put me off. I wasn't going to be put off. And to be honest, Cynthia, he spent so much time listening to me talking about it, helping me out with tastings, setting things up for me, that by the time I'd been doing it for a year, he just thought, do you know what, I might as well do it myself as well and just go in hell for leather and we'll all have a go at it.
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, join them. Yeah.
It was a bit like that. But of course, as soon as I made that decision, I realised the pressure was now on, because Susie then proceeded to cover herself in glory in all the exams and various other things. And I thought, oh no, I've got to try to live up to this somehow. But it did actually, from my perspective, it was enormously helpful. I knew that the experience Susie had gained doing it then helped me hugely in terms of preparation, what to expect. Because I think a lot about the MW is you are thrown in at the deep end and expected to swim. And a lot of people find that very, very challenging. And of course, you learn a lot from that too. But I'm very lucky to
I was
so
ridiculously naive. I just sort of thought, I really want to have a go at this. And I in my usual way, I didn't really research it properly. And I just sort of dived in, and it was so difficult and so painful. And I don't think I've ever had as hard a year as in my life as that first year of MW. But it was great in the sense that I could let you know what it was all about. You could see what it was all about. And if I'm in all honesty, I wish it had been the other way around and Peter had started it first and I joined on a bit later. But
you partly did it because you felt you needed to.
Yeah, I think, this is I'm not going to stand on my soapbox and bang the drum for females need help kind of thing. But I felt it was a way, or as certainly as it was as a woman, to be really honest, in wine, it was a way of saying, look, I've got this qualification. Let's forget the fact I actually do know what I'm talking about. And then you can decide if I'm the person you want for this, that, or whatever job. But it was a way of sort of getting over that bit of having to prove myself to a great extent.
It's such a good point. Having that, really the pinnacle of wine certification does make everything else fade away. You have to be able to, meet people standing on your merit. They can't deny you. So that's a very interesting point about it. You obviously are great partners in crime because both of you passed all the parts of the exam on the first go, which is incredibly difficult to do and very rare. So something was going well for you. Did you study together? I know you were Susie was a bit ahead and Peter was a bit coming along behind. How did it work out? I mean, in terms of just the amount of time you put in together, or were you better off in separate rooms?
Separate rooms, I think, is the fairest answer. No, I was a good 2 years behind Susie. So while I did sort of benefit in a general sense from knowing what to expect, I think we have slightly different ways of going about studying.
We definitely have different ways of going about studying, definitely.
Yeah, and it's a very personal thing. I think you've got to adopt the system that works for you. But we ran a Master of Wine boot camp helping students for a decade here in Winchester. So
once we were MWs.
After we'd passed, exactly. Actually, that's how it started. After we passed, some people who on my course said, look, can you just set up some tastings to help us because it's hard to do. So we did do that. And a large part of that was helping people give them an insight into the way we went about it. Not saying this is the way you should, but this is just the way we went about organising and structuring our approach. And we are quite, we as writers, we're quite lucky to have that experience. We can express ourselves well, but we had other challenges. So we did actually come up with a very sort of clear methodology of how to tackle the challenge ahead of us, both in terms of the tasting and the theory, and work around those techniques, which are really, really important. Because obviously doing a blind tasting exam is not something that you do very regularly. So it's a very specific set of skills you've got to learn. But apart from all of that, I think at the same time, part of the reason we did the MW was also that, you do it because you love wine and you want to find out more about it. I think sometimes we get a bit caught up in the fact that, this suddenly confers a sense of, huge gravitas and authority on you. Yeah, well, maybe, but actually the reason you do it, the rationale is to actually learn more about wine, enjoy while you're doing it. And then crucially, and the most important part of all this is to be able to help people better understand wine, be they just wanting to have a recommendation or at the very top level, talking to very top people in the wine trade. It's all about helping other people, the Master of Wine qualification.
I have to say one thing as well, Cynthia. One of my motivations for passing first time, and it was a strong one, was I had just had our first child when I started studying, and I thought, you know what? If I don't just get on and get this quickly, I'll never have time to do it again. Once you get into the world of children, you suddenly realise that there is so little time for anything extra. And so I'm very grateful to my daughter that she gave me the motivation to just get on and get it passed.
Excellent. I love that. I have 6 children, so the world of children is something I'm very familiar with.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We take our hat off to you.
I do think that there's a lot to be said for doing something because you love it and dedicating, such a hardcore course of study as the MW is. You really do have to have that authentic passion and love for wine, which I know both of you do. I mean, since then you've become become really popular in the UK wine scene, presenting on TV, and you crashed the Majestic Wine website after you recommended a wine on BBC Saturday Kitchen Show. So
I'm not sure you've apologised for that yet, have you? You should. Yeah.
I think that's a life goal, actually.
You should be on commission, surely.
So you're featured a lot. You're talking and speaking and writing a lot. What do you want to give your audience as a takeaway? You have so much to share. What are the things that you are thinking of specifically when you're out there?
So do you know, Cynthia, it's exactly what you just said, that we feel about wine, that we love wine. I mean, the only thing we can ever hope or want to do is enthuse people about wine, so they don't feel it's scary. They don't feel it's something they don't really understand and, I know what I like and I just buy that bottle. It's trying to encourage people to just have a go, take a risk, experiment. Just see, the world of wine is so magical, and I think unless you take a few risks along the way in terms of what you're buying, what you're drinking, that world will never really go into full HD color for you. You've got to be prepared to jump in a bit, and all our job is encouraging people to do that.
I think it was a wonderful Italian winemaker, Alberto Antonini, who once said to me, in wine, less is more, but to do less, you have to know more. And I think that's kind of our philosophy of it, isn't it? That actually, we've tried to learn and get our qualifications and credentials and really find out and get to the bottom of what is wine, be able to do things more simply to help people, whatever level they're at. And I think absolutely it's about, but if you boil it down, as Susie says, it's all about emotion. Wine is about emotion. It's about enthusiasm. How can we help encourage people, enthuse them and help them along the way?
That's so true. As an educator myself, I love just trying to make that connection for people, to tear down the snobbiness and all those walls that keep people out, and sort of make that connection and let people in and discover, as you said, the joy of it, the magic of it. So I completely agree with that. And you started your podcast sort of in that frame of mind. Wine Blast started in 2020, which was, of course, in the middle of lockdowns. What inspired you to start the show? Who's the audience, and what are you talking about typically?
Well, many things inspired us to start the show. Great. Really, we know that there were other really good wine podcasts out there like you guys. I think we also loved radio a lot, didn't we? And we felt that radio and podcasting is such a good medium for wine.
Absolutely. And you can do it in your pajamas while you're drinking.
Yeah.
Not that I'm doing either of those things today.
Who wouldn't love that? Oh, but we don't know, you see, and nobody knows. That's the mystery of it, isn't it? There we go. To be honest with the podcast, although it was launched at the start of lockdown, we had been planning it for quite a while. So it was sort of just fortuitous that we were able to launch it at the beginning of the lockdown because people weren't doing very much. We had more time to put to it and to getting it off the ground and, promoting it. We already had some episodes ready to go. And so, it was sort of lucky timing. And we have genuinely loved every minute of it.
We have, but I think it's temporary. We've done radio. We both presented on Radio 4, which is sort of a wonderful British channel here, which does high quality audio, spoken word, and you've done the food program, and we both done stuff on there and other radio stations. And we felt that having been lucky enough to do lots of media from TV to radio and other things, we felt that radio or the spoken word podcast was just a wonderful way to connect with wine. As you know, it's a very intimate medium. You feel very close to the people doing it. We feel close to our audience when we're doing it, and vice versa. Our audience sort of feel like they're with us. So that is wonderful. And obviously, you're using when you're listening, you're really using your imagination, and that's exactly what wine needs. That engagement. TV is a wonderful medium, but you don't engage in the same way. You don't buy in as a listener or a watcher. You're not sort of there in the moment in the same way that you are with a podcast or radio. So we wanted to do this for a long time, and it'd been a long time coming, hadn't it?
Picking up on that, there's almost more honesty in just a spoken word. We've worked in TV. There's a lot of stuff has to go on to make it happen that isn't necessarily true, if you know it. It's sort of creating a theatre. Whereas with the spoken word, with podcasts, with radio, you don't need all of that. You just need to be listening to this. It's like reading a book. You know, you create the images yourself, and so nobody has to manufacture that visual. And we love the honesty of that, don't we?
We do. And also, just finally, to pick up on your point about the audience, you know, we knew there were podcasts out there which are doing a really good job. We felt that we could sort of hopefully add something a bit new and different for an audience. We felt there was a slight gap in the market. So as both masters of wine and, you know, living in the same household, we felt that there was, you know, we could quite easily have a conversation, which was very natural to us. It's what we do all the time about any given topic. And hopefully that would be something that was sort of very informative for people with our very specific angle, and that would help, so hopefully sort of fill a gap in the market, which, you know, and we feel that there's room for more. There's room for more voices in podcasts and wine podcasts, particularly out there. And the more the merrier. We think podcasting is a really collaborative, fun, constructive medium that I think it's got a lot more to give yet.
Definitely.
Well, one of the things I really enjoy about your podcast is how welcoming it is. So, you know, going back to the idea of tearing down the walls that keep people out of wine, I think the two of you together have a very welcoming approach, which I think is great, particularly for new wine drinkers or people, you know, younger wine drinkers, people who might not be, you know, that confident asking questions in a face-to-face class can sit and concentrate and listen and tune in and tune out as they like to your podcast, which is useful.
Thank you. Yeah, no,
thank you.
Thank you. It's certainly we love to be welcoming, and for us, it's like having someone sitting at the table with us. You know, come and sit down, have a bottle of wine with us at the table, have dinner with us.
Suffer our terrible jokes.
Yeah, there's always a quid pro quo, isn't there? Really.
Well, you both are, you know, an incredible team. You are very welcoming. You've done a lot of other things, not just in media. I remember back in the day in 2014 when you launched Wine Festival Winchester in the south part of England where you both live, and that went for I think 6 or 7 editions.
7 years. Yes, yeah.
7 years, and raised over £16,000 for charity, which, you know, there's nothing more welcoming than that. But what I want to talk to you about today is your more recent project, the Big English Wine Adventure. First of all, I love the name. It's you know, one of those great things that only comes out of England, the Big English Wine Adventure. And you started it in 2016. So tell us about the project, because I love the idea, and I'm sure our listeners would like to hear about it.
Okay, well, we'd been sort of tossing up for a while, thinking about, you know, doing a TV thing about making wine in England, and we love the English wine scene. We've written a book together about it.
It's grown so much. It's really grown.
Yeah, it has. It's extraordinary,
really
Cynthia. You're absolutely right. So it's such a vibrant industry right now.
And I think that was the thing. We were just really excited about it, and we wanted to find an outlet for that enthusiasm.
Yeah, a way that we could kind of get involved and promote it or whatever. And so we decided, look, the TV thing wasn't happening. Why don't we just make some wine with, if a winery will have us, make some wine and sell it all for charity, and at the same time promoting the whole idea of drinking English wine and being local. And so that started in 2016 because we went to Hattingley Valley, who are local to us. They make sparkling wines just down the road from us, and they were very kind and said, "Yep, absolutely, we'll do this with you." And so we picked a few grapes. I can't say that we joined in the whole harvest.
No, that's probably a fair way of saying it. We were rubbish. Absolutely rubbish.
I think they thought, what have we let ourselves in
for? If any winemakers are listening, don't ever hire us as harvesters, because we're rubbish.
So we made, from 2016, we essentially made a Blanc de Blanc, a Chardonnay, sparkling Chardonnay. We helped with the blending, or we did the blending actually. We chose the blend, if you like, and we helped with the dosage and all that kind of thing. And then and we were, well, you particularly, Peter, said, that's it. We're just doing it once. That's it. And then the next year I said, oh, go on, let's have another go. So we had another go with Hattingley again. I can't believe they had us back. And we made a 2017, which was a blend of Chardonnay Pinot Meunier.
We were quite excited about the potential of Meunier at that point. It was just becoming clear that this grape, which obviously for a long time has been slightly disregarded in Champagne as a supposedly sort of second-rate variety, actually in England just is absolutely wonderful. It makes sort of wines of particularly sparkly wines, but have real perfume, but also a lovely acidity, don't they? Anyway, that was why we did
that down to, Peter, the terroir in England. What's it giving to Meunier that it's not getting in France or other places?
A really good question.
It's a really good question. I think we're still working on that one. It does seem to be in certain parts of the country, maybe particularly on chalk, the wines do retain this acidity. And I think the climate
and
here
substance about them
is just that bit fresher. So I think in Champagne sometimes the Meunier does have lovely succulence
and fruitiness.
but you don't get the same acidity as you get here because it's a slightly cooler climate, and you get a much more kind of floral perfume here, and I don't know why that is.
I think there's just it's quite almost difficult to pinpoint exactly what it is, but there's just something more about it here that adds more to a blend, gives it more sort of substance, I would say.
It's so interesting. I love it when grapes express themselves in different places.
Different ways, yeah, absolutely.
You know, soil and location and aspect and things like that are so crucial. And this is an ideal conversation about how a grape that is, sort of muddling along in other places is really exalting itself in England, which just saying a grape is exalting itself in England, I think right there is something important.
Yeah, absolutely.
When would you ever imagine saying
Meunier
that?
particularly, which, especially when they're grapes which maybe haven't sort of had their moment in the spotlight, and then they suddenly come good somewhere else, and you think, great, this is fantastic, because all of these grapes have great potential, don't they? And equally, I think we're a bit too quick in the wine commentary division to ascribe certain characters to grapes, to very specific things like soil, like what this winemaker's doing. I think sometimes, and this is where we are in England at the moment, we need time. You need time, experience, people putting heads together to say what really is going on here. But at the moment, we don't know. All we can say is it's a Meunier in English sparkling wine is a really, really, really exciting thing.
Of course. And I mean, thank you, climate change. One of the rare times that gets said too.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, and one grape that doesn't always work, but when climate change is on our side does, is obviously Pinot Noir for the red wines. And so to finish off our little English wine adventure, we absolutely said no more after our 2 sparkling wines. And then 2018 came along, and it was this glorious year in England, one of the best we've had, so much sunshine, just beautiful. And we sort of thought, we cannot let this one go by without attempting to make a red wine. And so we went off to some guys in Essex, which is one of the driest, most consistent warm climates in the UK. And they very kindly said, okay, we will do some red wine with you. And that was Danbury Ridge.
Obviously, they hadn't talked to your previous producers.
No. We made sure that they didn't. We got in there first.
So that was brilliant, and they were very collaborative. So that was Danbury Ridge. Leah Mijakowski is the winemaker there, and we made just a small amount with them. But again, they let us have some of their best wines in the barrels, and we blended all of that and came up with our own blend. So by that point, we had 3 wines, and that was really our big English wine adventure. And we launched them in November last year. The red, we sold the 2 sparkling and the red as a 3-pack, and they've all gone. But we have still got some of the sparkling. So if anybody wants to buy all for charity sparkling wines, then they can get them at the Hattingley Valley website, hattingleyvalley.com.
My father-in-law's 90th birthday is coming up, so I might be jumping on that website later on today.
Fabulous. Well, we appreciate that.
You've left out one of the things that I thought was so fun and, again, engaging and inclusive about the big English wine adventure. It could have just been all about you and your 3 wines, but you held competitions to name the wine and choose the charity that the proceeds would go to. So tell us how that turned out.
Well, we definitely have, you put your finger on it, Cynthia. We wanted to find a way to make this not just about us, to make it as inclusive and fun, most importantly, as possible. So when we were starting off, we obviously were starting to make the wine. We knew we were going to have a bit of time before we released them. So we thought how to get people involved right from the start. And we said, we know what we'll do. We'll run a competition to find a name and a charity to support, because we had ideas about that. But actually, we wanted to find out what other people cared about and wanted to help. So the name competition was a bit of fun, really, and we did get some properly silly names, which I'm glad, because we encouraged that. We said to people, look, just send us in anything, make us laugh if you need to, and they did. So we ended up with the name Hope and Glory for the sparkling wines, which was absolutely lovely. But we did get some funny suggestions along the way, and I've actually just got a few for you here. So some suggestions: Alfred the Grape. We live in Alfred the Great territory here in Winchester, so that was quite a fun one. Double Bubble. Fizz McBoaty Fizz, that's a long story. Bubblicious. Premier Sue was quite a good one instead of Premier Cru for Susie. Another one on Susie's name was Suze Bois, which I thought was quite nice. That's a lot of thought gone into there. A more topical one was Covin
Oh
20,
my.
which is quite nice. Sort of reset there. Another one was Susie and Peter's Finest Fizz. And then the last one was a more serious one, but we thought quite a nice one was Master Wined, which was close to ending, but we didn't end up. We ended up with Hope and Glory, which was we felt captured the kind of spirit of the project really, really well.
Well, I think Hope and Glory is genius and undoubtedly will be served at every prize day at every school across the country when they always play Hope and Glory. So the charity where the money's going to, how did that get chosen and which one is it?
Okay, so that was chosen by public vote. We got a lot of votes for such a massive range of charities, but we wanted something that was sort of topical and was genuinely doing a great job right now. And we went for the Marine Conservation Society because, as I'm sure many people listening will know, our oceans need looking after. They're over 70% of the planet is our ocean. They provide over half of our oxygen, and at the moment they're not necessarily being allowed to be as clean as they could be. Lots of plastic gets dumped in the ocean. The beaches end up again really, really polluted. And so the Marine Conservation Society do an amazing job looking after our seagrass beds and helping clean beaches. And we just felt that for us was right now a fabulous charity to be supporting.
And also I think they make the point that blue carbon is so important. So they're not just protecting our seas and oceans, they're also helping in the fight against climate change. We don't really have a clear idea about how much the oceans help
sequester the carbon
and help generate oxygen. But I think it's something like they think that seagrass might be 35 times more effective in sequestering carbon than tropical rainforests. So it's things like that that make you think, wow, this is something we need to focus our attention on. And hopefully this sort of project, the Beginnings Wine Adventure, will help in a little way, give them the funds and the awareness to help doing what is a great job.
So important. I did not know that about seagrass, and this is really a timely charity to gift the money to. So I'm excited about that, and I'm also very excited about your super cool label, which I stalked on the internet before. But you found a street artist. And there's a fun backstory to this. How did you find this person? How did you choose their artwork for your label?
Well, finding this person was pretty difficult.
It was. He, she. We still can't reveal anything. We did not want to be found. But no, we'd always wanted to try and make again the labels something local. We thought about going to maybe the university and asking students. But anyway, we were on a walk one day in Winchester and saw this incredible graffiti, for want of a better way of describing it, quite Banksy style, and thought, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And it was of a little boy holding a balloon, and the little boy was sort of black a kite, and in black and white, but with this lovely colourful kite, and it was absolutely gorgeous on just a wall, hidden almost in the back, near a walk in Winchester, and then we managed to do a bit of digging, and we found out it was a street artist called Hendog. So we found this person on Instagram, and we eventually, it did take us a while, didn't it? But we direct messaged them, and they, to cut a long story short, were incredible. And the fact that we were doing it for charity, they said, absolutely, we want to be involved. They did a couple of different mock-ups of labels for us, and we settled on one for the blend of our wine, the Chardonnay Meunier, and one for the Blanc de Blanc. And one is a woman who is blowing butterflies. The Hattingley Valley, one of their symbols is a butterfly, and one of them is a guy, a really cool looking guy, who's sort of kicking butterflies as if he's kicking a ball.
Yeah, and they're fun.
They're just fun.
We wanted to make
really
the bottles look different and striking, and to have an artist like Hendog, the quality of the art on our label, we're just so excited about and so grateful for. And hopefully, they just stand out a bit. And Hendog's point is that actually we need more public space for people to be able to express themselves, and that's a major thing worldwide. I think we could all get behind and support too.
Absolutely. And of course, with a bottle and a label, you only have one chance to make a first impression. And that label, both of the labels are really eye-catching. So again, it's another way of being so inclusive, because, even younger drinkers or people new to sparkling wines see that label. It's not intimidating. It's not in some old world, cursive font or in a foreign language. It's attractive and it's youthful, and it's a very clean, clear image. So really great selection. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. And hopefully the idea was partly to make the bottle sort of collector's item. So, maybe it's the sort of Chianti fiasco for the 22nd century,
Oh my goodness, I think a step up from that. So are you going to carry on making wine, or have you had enough of it?
No,
I think that might. I think, this is where we are going to have to, I'm afraid, break our rule and agree. And we are going to agree on the fact that we are not making any more
If
wine.
anyone out there finds us doing it again, please stop us.
It's been great. It was brilliant fun. But, these kind of projects take up so much time. And we've done it, we've done it. And it's time for the real winemakers to take it.
And as I think Susie said earlier, literally all of the profits from this are going straight to the charity. So we've given our time for free, and it's been 5 years of tremendous fun.
We need to make some money.
It has been. But equally, we have newfound, even more respect, let's put it that way, for those people who make and sell wine, because it's hard.
Hard work. It is hard work.
Well, and you've ticked that box now, so it sounds like thoroughly ticked that box. Well, before I let you go, I just have to ask my famous final question. If you were going to crack open a bottle of Italian wine together, what one would it be? What's your favorite?
Well, this is a tough question, and that we feel there's pressure
it's a good question,
we feel
but
there's
it was
pressure
very
to give
difficult.
a good answer, but we're just going to ramble
difficult.
instead, if that's all right. I mean, as any good wine people, we drink a lot of Italian wine. We love Italian wine, but it's so difficult to come down with a few favourites. But I'm planning a trip to Sicily to film for a wine and travel series we've got going on called The Wild Side of Wine. We're filming it with a production company called Wine Masters, and that's really, really exciting. We're coming to Sicily very soon. So I've been drinking a lot of Sicilian wine in preparation. I'm loving the Caricantes from Etna, sort of slightly surprising styles, as well as the Nerellos, but some of the Caricantes are beautiful. We love Italian whites. I've got a bottle of Pieropan La Rocca 2013 in front of me right here, which we have a lot of, but getting through quite steadily. We love Piedmont, we love Tuscany, Sassicaia we visited not too long ago. We also love the sort of more affordable styles. So with a lot of our wine and food matching for Saturday Kitchen, the Appassimento styles, particularly from the south, just go so well with so many cuisines, especially ones which have a bit of spice or sweetness. So to be honest, we could pick so many.
We could pick so many, but we did both go, I know which wine it is. So back in about 2008, we had a little girl who was 1 year old then, and we were on a rare occasion. She was going to go to grandparents, and we were going away for the night.
Oh, so exciting!
It was very exciting, and then it snowed. And it snowed, and it snowed, and it snowed, and there was no way we were going anywhere. We couldn't get the car out the drive. There was no chance. And so we decided we were still going to go out for the night. And so we got our wellies on, and we stomped through the snow to our local Enoteca, which is gorgeous Italian restaurant in Putney where we lived at the time. And we sat there. There weren't many people in there, as you can imagine, just us and a few others. And we ordered a bottle of Barbaresco. And it was, I've got the bottle, one of the bottles here, 1995 Brick Ronchi Barbaresco, Rocca Albino. And we loved it so much. And I think it was about, we believe strongly that enjoying wine is about who you're with and where you are and your mood. And it was the fact it was just so special to be there on this snowy night that it was a very expensive meal because we went out and bought a whole case of this wine afterwards.
Well, that's the thing that wine does. It's the moment. I always encourage my students to, when they take their tasting notes, to write down also where they were and who they were with and what they were doing when they tasted that wine, even if it's just a $2 bottle of Blanc somewhere. It's the moment. It's that creating that moment. I look back at my own notes and the moment comes straight back to me if I've put that down. So I can picture you there in your lovely local Enoteca having your Barbaresco, which is a great choice. I love Barbaresco. And probably you could have imagined yourself being in Piemonte with that snow around you.
It was, yeah. The fact we were sitting there in our wellies. The snow slightly melted and got soggy feet, but it was all fun.
Oh, it's a lovely image to end on. I'm so grateful to both of you for coming on today and sharing your English wine adventure with us. And I hope that we will have a chance to meet up in the future.
Thank you
Cynthia.
so much. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you for listening, and remember to tune in next Wednesday when I'll be chatting with another fascinating guest. Italian Wine Podcast is among the leading wine podcasts in the world, and the only one with a daily show. Tune in every day and discover all our different shows. You can find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com, SoundCloud, Spotify, Himalaya, or wherever you get your pods.
Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.